Welcome to the Rough Characters podcast. I am your host, Philip Overby.
I'm John Palladino.
Today, we bring you another special episode, which means no news, no game at the end, just stuff we like in great detail. This time, we're talking about favorites of 2022, not necessarily things that were released in 2022, but experiences we had throughout the year in relation to books, movies, TV, and games in the sci-fi fantasy realm. So, to get started, let's talk about favorite TV show, and let's do a countdown. So let's do one, two, three, and then at the same time we'll say our favorite TV show.
Oh, okay. Is this because you think that it's the same thing?
I think, yeah, but we'll see. All right, ready?
Okay. Yep.
One, two, three.
House
House
of the
of the
Dragon.
Dragon. Yeah, okay.
All right. All right. I wasn't sure if you were gonna pick that, honestly, when I
Really?
wrote mine down. I thought you might, but I was like, sometimes you surprise me with things. And so I wasn't sure. I wasn't super confident. I was actually sad when I put House of the Dragon as my favorite show of the year. And you know why? It's because so many other shows came out this year that I was super excited for, and so many of them were just not that great. Um,
Well, you haven't talked about Andor at all, and I haven't watched it, but everybody said it's like great. You watched it, so
I have a lot of thoughts on Andor.
okay.
I'm
Maybe
sure
maybe
we'll get into that in I think we plan on doing what, a Star Wars centric episode at some point, right?
yeah.
So we'll get into it then. My brief opinion of Andor is holy gods, what a slog.
Uh, okay. So, House of the Dragon we both picked. And I think we talked about that in pretty good detail before. So, if you want to hear our thoughts about House of the Dragon, I recommend to go back to that episode. So we don't have to rehash everything, but uh, basically, we both loved the show, and we had a few nitpicks here and there, but I mean, for me, it wasn't even close because I just haven't watched that much sci-fi fantasy TV this year. Uh, I usually watch a lot of like shitty reality TV shows, to be honest.
I mean, I'll be honest. I watch quite a bit of shitty reality TV as well. Uh, for sci-fi, okay, here's the thing. Sci-fi shows, it's really hard to find a sci-fi show that's good. And even a lot of the ones that people say are good, I don't like. For fantasy, I feel like I've seen I well, I don't remember how much I've seen. I've seen I think was The Witcher season 2 this year?
Season three, I think.
Oh, season 3 was it? Yeah, I can't remember. One of those seasons came out this year.
Yeah.
This was a stellar year for fantasy if you liked mediocre fantasy because there was also the Lord of the Rings show.
A stellar
Um,
year for mediocre fantasy.
yeah. Um, trying to think of there was another show that came out. You know what just started? Willow just started. I haven't watched it. I've never actually seen the movie either. But anyway, there's
Oh,
been a
really?
lot of stuff that's yeah, Disney Plus just released I think it was the first episode of the Willow TV show.
Well, I love the movie. That's actually one of my favorite fantasy movies of all
Yeah,
time.
I've never seen it. Uh which is shocking, I think.
Highly recommend Willow.
Yeah, I should probably do that at some point. So really, House of the Dragon was just fucking spectacular, right? Like
Yeah.
I out of all the shows that came out this year, all the Star Wars shows, oh man, so many disappointments there. But just all the shows, I was maybe the I don't want to say I was the least hyped for House of the Dragon because there was always a little bit of hope there, but I did not expect it to be like my favorite show of the year.
No, I mean, I think like a lot of people that were big Game of Thrones fans, um, they had very guarded, either guarded optimism or just like, fuck it, I'm not watching it. And I think some of the fuck it, I'm not watching it people eventually came around because I know there were some people that just heard how great it was and they were like, well,
Yeah,
I'll give it a try. And then they were like, oh, shit, this is good.
it is. I think it had a slower start in the show than I would have liked, but it really, and even the slow stuff was still really compelling, and the whole show was just spectacular. But we don't need to rehash it. That was a great show. A big surprise, I think, because I really was expecting to watch the first episode and be like, fuck this show and fuck the HBO network for staying in. Which is kind of weird because I love HBO otherwise. It's just like that Game of Thrones thing really like,
Yeah.
well, we all know.
H I, I mean, I never really had HBO until recently, and there's just so much good shit on there.
Oh my God,
Um,
yeah.
I mean, it's worth. I think it's uh, way more worth the money than Netflix is. I mean, Netflix sometimes I'm just like struggling to find stuff. I'm just
There's
like
some good stuff
something.
on Netflix. Have you seen The Last Kingdom?
Uh, that's one of those that I tried and just couldn't get into. And I think you may have told me you have to give it time. It's one of those that maybe
Yeah, I think you'd really like the show. I think that the first like half of the show might be confusing or it's been a while since I saw the first season, but I remember being kind of like on it, but
is.
also not having anything else to watch. And then I really got into it. It gets really good.
I think I watched Vikings and The Last Kingdom
Uh,
at a similar time, and now I don't know which is which.
well, that's part of the problem. For me, The Last Kingdom is destroys Vikings. I love The Last Kingdom and Vikings. I still haven't finished Vikings. I think I have one more season of that show. It's really hard for me to watch that show ever since there's a big moment in season 4, which I don't want to spoil for you or anyone listening, and it kind of changes the show.
Mhm.
And then ever since that change, it's just like a struggle for me to really get into it.
They go to outer space.
It's not that big of a change, but there,
Vikings in
do you
space.
know what I'm talking about? Like without
No,
spoiling it?
I have
Oh,
no
okay.
idea. No.
Okay. Well, then yeah. Just like a big thing happens, it kind of changes how the whole show works. And uh I don't know. It was just hard to get back into for me.
Um, do we want to talk about TV anymore, or we want to move on? Because
Yeah, we can move on. I
I,
think
I don't have anything else to talk about TV wise.
yeah, TV. Before we move on from TV, and this is a little off topic, but it's a show that we haven't mentioned. We were talking about HBO, and the show Westworld popped into my head, and I saw the first season, and I never went back, and the show just got canceled, and that was season 4 that just wrapped up this year, I think. Did you ever see that show?
I did watch a few episodes of it, and I liked it. I liked what I watched of it, but um yeah, it was one of those like I was at home on vacation and I just casually watched it a little bit, so it wasn't like I was at home,
Yeah.
at home binging it or something.
Yeah, I got really bored of that show. I think because Westworld has like two facets to it. You have like the park stuff, which is super interesting, I thought. Then you have like the out of the park stuff, which I thought was incredibly boring. And I'm pretty sure that the closer you get like to the end of season 1, the more it focuses on outside the park and the more I kind of lost it. And then I saw the last episode and it kind of like was a lot of the last episode of the first season, that is, and it was like a lot of outside the park stuff, and to me, it made me think the direction of the show was shifting away from the park, and I was like, well, the reason I like the show is because of the park. So I never went back for season two. The things
Yeah.
I've heard about the later seasons are like, not appealing to me. And then
Mm.
it got canceled, and I'm really happy I didn't get into it because, from my understanding, season four ended with no spoilers. Season four ended with an ending that wasn't resolved. So like they were planning, the showrunners were planning on a season five happening. They
Uh,
they did the whole, yeah, you got another season thing, and then you know what? Actually, it's canceled. Fucking hate when that happens. I mean, I don't care for this show, but I'm still salty over the My Name is Earl thing. But that's not for this podcast.
yeah. I really like the concept of Westworld and all the, all the stuff was really interesting that I watched, but yeah, just, I don't know, wasn't a show for me overall, I guess. Just wasn't eager
Yeah,
to finish it. I don't guess.
it was a very slow show.
Well, speaking of slow, it's not a good transition. Um, it took me a long time to think of a movie.
Oh yeah.
um, and it hit me when I googled movies in 2020, and I was like, surely there was a movie I watched this year that came out this year that I really liked. And then it's actually something that I normally wouldn't like, and that's a superhero movie, because I generally don't like superhero movies.
Right.
But it was the Batman, the Robert Pattinson.
Oh, Pattinson. Yeah. Did
Uh,
that came out this year?
yeah, I guess it did because I googled it and it said 2022, so I guess it came out this year. Um,
Wow.
and the reason I chose that one, the other one I was thinking was Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was a really cool, like, kind of time travel dimension kind of movie, kind of uniquely done. Um, but I chose the Batman just because it was like a superhero story that didn't feel like a superhero story, and that's why I liked it. It had had Batman in it, but
Right.
it wasn't shot like a superhero movie, or it didn't feel like a superhero movie. It felt like a crime, like a set, Seven, or uh some of those darker kind of like crime movies. That's what it felt like. Um, so I'm looking forward to the next movie this director does, because I think he did really good with, like, kind of revitalizing dying, not dying, but just like kind of trudging along genre, the superhero genre, just kind of formulaic. And I think most people recognize it's formulaic and they're okay with that. So that was my pick. Just the acting was really good, and it had some good teasers for future movies, and the storyline was kind of interesting for me because it kind of took the Riddler as this, like, more of like a what a real criminal would act like, like a real psychopath.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, it was a good dark twist on the. I think it's darker than the Christian Bale movies, and people said, "Oh, that's the dark Batman," but to me, this is going more in a realistic direction, whereas the previous Batman movies were very superhero style, where this one was more like grounded in reality, and um,
Right.
so
Uh,
I like that feeling of it.
I can I confess something?
Sure.
I have not watched a DC movie of, I think, any variety since I watched Batman and Robin as a kid, the George Clooney one.
This is not a shocking confession.
Yeah, so
Because I haven't watched most of those either.
I, like you, I'm also not a big superhero fan either. But I've, even as a kid, always kind of not been a DC fan. Um, for Marvel, it's like Spider-Man, and that's about it. I don't really like the Marvel movies either. Uh, in terms of my favorite movie of the year, I thought about it for a little while, and I realized I have not seen a new movie this year that came out this year. I did not go to the theater. I did not watch a movie that was new to me, not even one that didn't come out this year. I just didn't watch a movie that was like new to me this year because I don't really watch movies. Just in general, I'm much more into TV shows. So the only movies I've seen this year are like when my brother visits and maybe he'll want to watch like a old movie because his fiance hasn't seen it. And so like she hasn't seen a lot of movies, so they are watching like all the movies that my brother loves. And so none of those are really movies I haven't seen, I guess. And so I haven't really seen anything new this year. But I do have a movie that I am going to see that comes out this year. So today, as of recording, it is, at least in my time zone, December 3rd, almost December 4th. And this month, the new Avatar movie does come out. Did you ever see the first Avatar movie?
I think I saw part of it or something at some point. I see parts of things a lot. I don't know how this happens in my life, but
Um,
um
yeah, the first one came out back in like 2009.
yeah, it was on. Somebody was watching it and I kind of like half-assed watched it, but um I mean I remember it being universally hated.
Yeah,
Um
so that's the funny thing because my brother is one of those people who really thinks it's an overrated movie, didn't like it. I don't remember it. We're actually planning on rewatching it sometime this month before we go and see the second one because we haven't seen it since it came out. I remember really liking it a lot. But I also do think I remember thinking it was overrated by people who like loved it. I really liked it, but I didn't think it was like the best movie of all time. But having said that, I do remember really liking it. I saw the trailer for the second movie, and oh my god, it focuses on like the water part of the planet, and it just looks
oh,
so cool.
okay,
Um,
I'm confused.
what?
You you're talking about Avatar like with the blue people.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. For some
What?
reason, I thought you were talking about Avatar, the Last Airbender.
No way. That is not. No. That's
Okay.
my thing. I don't.
Okay, sorry. That was
Come on,
total.
Phil. You should have known me better than that.
Well, I
You
don't
guys.
know. Yeah,
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
the first Avatar movie, I liked it. Yeah.
Okay. So now that we're on the same page, uh, yeah, no, the
That was not universally hated. Lots of people like
yeah, no,
Avatar.
I was a little confused, but then I know that movie did have a lot of haters, so I was like, well, maybe in his bubble, he just had a lot of people that hated it. And I know plenty of people that are like, yeah, it's not that great.
Well,
I think it was pretty good.
that's the problem with naming something after a already existing property. You
Oh
know,
my God. Don't even get me started. Like, why would you do that?
yeah. So
Stupid. That'd be like me writing a book called Star Wars.
I mean, Avatar: The Last Airbender had already been, established as a cartoon before then. So,
Right.
um, I think James Cameron was just like, I already had this name picked out 20 years ago or something, probably. Um,
Yeah. So
but yeah,
I,
some people did hate it because they said it was like a live action Fern Gully, basically. Uh, you know, the blue I forget what they're called, but the blue people are like the fairies in Fern Gully or the pixies or whatever they were, and then the humans come in and destroy their land. Um,
yeah.
it was kind of a kind of, I don't know,
But I think the
hit the nail on
storyline,
the head kind of thing.
yeah, the storyline and the plot is nothing new, but it was like, sure. I think everyone can criticize the plot and story of the first movie. It's very basic. Uh, that from what I remember. I mean, I'm talking about a movie I haven't seen since 2009. So, if I got this wrong, I apologize. But from my understanding, it's just very basic. You know, the humans are destroying the world. There's like the environmental concern, and the military people are the bad guys, and the local blue people are resisting and losing. Sure, I get it. Story is not that original. But my God, the world was just so cool, and like the the CGI was so amazing
Yeah,
that it,
there were some people that were so blown away by the visual effects that they were sad that they lived on Earth. It's like Earth is a pretty beautiful planet, also, comparatively to the rest of the planets in the solar system.
that's fair. Um, so I do think that there is some valid criticism for the plot, um, for the first film, but I'm really excited about number two because I don't know, I just am. So I'm even if I hate that movie, Avatar 2, it has to be the best movie of the year for me because I haven't watched anything else from movies.
By default, it wins.
Yes, exactly. It wins best and worst.
All right, let's talk about books. So my favorite book that I've been reading, uh, so I've been trying to read through R. Scott Baker's The Prince of Nothing series, and it's something I read years ago. So I'm trying to get through the whole trilogy because I really love the writing style, but it's not a simple read. So it's kind of like my ongoing um, read, but um, the book I have enjoyed going back and forth to is The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. And this specific writer reminds me a lot of Joe Abercrombie, but like also reminds me a lot of some of the weirder writers. So it's like almost, I always like really weird shit. So like Joe Abercrombie, but weird. So um just the main characters kind of has that Joe Abercrombie feel to him. He's kind of like kind of a sarcastic or kind of wise ass kind of guy. And the world is just really interesting to me, and um the way everything works. And I'm interested to see where it goes because it's kind of like it has elements of traditional fantasy stuff in it. Like for example, there was a goblin war or something, but the way the goblins are kind of talked about in the book, it's not like traditional goblins. They're like, the bite your fingers off. Like, so all these people are talking about, yeah, I lost some of my fingers in the goblin war.
Uh,
like, like it's like brutal kind of shit. Um, but yeah, it just feels like something. His writing style I really like. I've read some of his other stuff also, and he does dark stuff really well. So I'm kind of interested to see his next work, and I'm kind of going back and forth between that and R. Scott Baker. So this is kind of my light read, and R. Scott Baker's my heavy read. So I'm kind of going between the two.
nice.
And then I usually have like a sample I read every so often just to see if I can, I'll read a sample of a book just to see like if something's catches me. So now and again I'll pick up something, and we were talking about Robin Hobb before, so I got a sample of one of her books. It's the
Assassin.
live
Oh,
ship trader series.
Phil, what are you doing? This is a great segue because my book experience of the year is Robin Hobb, the Farseer trilogy. But don't start with the Live Ship Trader series. You'll make everyone die.
Make
Because
everyone die.
the Live Ships Traders is the second trilogy in like the big series.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like the Farseer trilogy, which is what I literally wrote down for my book experience,
Oh, no.
is yeah, I wrote that in when did I read that? August and September maybe. I read them like back to back. I just read the whole trilogy straight through. I'd been avoiding it for a long time because I knew it was first person, and I really hate first person most of the time. But I'd heard too many good things about Robin Hobb, and I tried the sample on Amazon where you can click on the thing and just start reading.
Yeah, that's what I
But
did.
yeah, so I read the first sentence or two. I don't remember exactly how far I went, maybe the first paragraph. And I just exited out and bought the book. I was like, okay, the way she's writing it is the way I like first person. It's not making me feel like I'm the actual person. It makes me feel like they're telling me the story rather than like you are the person. And that's what I like. So I bought it. I read the first book, devoured it, immediately bought the second book, devoured it, immediately bought the third book, devoured it, and then I bought the first book in the Live Ship Trader series because that's the next trilogy. Um, and so I bought that, and I haven't read that.
I didn't know they were connected. I thought it was a completely different series.
Yeah, so the whole series, I think it's called the Farseer series. No, it's Realm of the Elderlings. That's what it is. The whole series is 16 books, I think,
No, okay. Well,
and
this
it's like
this book's
far.
not this book's not in first person, so
Right, I know. So it's weird because the first trilogy focuses on Fitz, which is the main character,
yeah.
and then it goes to the Live Ship Trader series, which is third person. I don't understand that. Um, and it's a whole different area, whole different story, whole different people, I guess. I haven't read it, so I don't actually know. And then after that, you go back to, I think it's like Fitz for another trilogy. And then I think there's like a 4 book conclusion series. And that's like has elements of both books or something. I haven't done a lot of research because I don't want to ruin anything. But
Yeah.
I have heard that like you don't want to skip the Live Ship Trader series because I was like, well, if this is just different people, why do I care? But I've had people be like, no, you can read them and read them in order. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna complain because I really like Robin Hobb so far. So I'm super excited. I'm even more excited that this series is third person because I will always pick third person, always first person, every single time if I have a choice. Um,
Yeah,
I haven't started
I'm not as particular about that. If someone, if it's good, I don't really care what point of view it is. I would tend to lean towards third person, but if it's first person, I'm not gonna just not like it. I'll be like, well, let's.
Yeah, for me, it just depends on how it's written.
Yeah, I think. Well, we're kind of in a situation where I'm getting people telling me you have to finish R. Scott Baker if you like the first book. Oh, it gets so much better. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay. So, and then you're in a situation with Robin Hobb, which these books have been out for years, as far as I know. And you're
Yeah,
trying,
and I think the first one came out in the late 80s or early 90s. Like,
yeah. So trying to avoid spoilers for stuff that came out in the '80s is not not easy.
yeah, so it's like I've been in a couple like reading Facebook groups for a while. Um, that I don't really do anything in anymore, I guess. But way back in the day, well, I say that, and it was really only like 2 years ago.
Way back in the day.
Anyway, I I used to read the spoilers for the Robin Hood books because I didn't care. I wasn't gonna read her. But to be honest, it was so long ago that I don't remember any of what I read. Um, I know I read a spoiler about like the main villain Regal, and fuck, I don't even remember what it was. So I just remember someone said something bad about Regal, and not something bad, something about him, and I don't even know what it was. I might have already read it. I might not have. I don't know. So yeah, I think the main criticism about the Robin Hood books that I've heard and that I have for the first series anyway, the first trilogy, her ending of the first trilogy was, I thought, really bad. It was just like I felt like it ended in the middle of a story almost. It was just like no closure. And I was expecting the trilogy to really wrap up like nicely, and it didn't. And I guess that, it's not a big criticism because it is part of like a 16 book series, but like to have the first series end like that, and now I'm starting something that does not involve that series at all for three massively long books seems a little weird. Um, but that's okay. Uh, I guess
So
it'll
I
hopefully. Yeah.
have a question about Robin Hobb because I keep getting different opinions about her writing.
Okay.
Some people say she has, kind of a grim dark style, and then others say absolutely not. So, what would
Okay.
be your take on that?
On if Robin Hobb is grimdark.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't say she's grimdark in the sense that a lot of people. Okay, so for my own personal, does this feel like grimdark feeling? And my opinion on grimdark is actually a lot different than a lot of people's opinion on grimdark. So for me, I would consider Robin Hobb to be like grimdark epic fantasy in the
Yeah.
sense that she's writing very typical like epic fantasy stories in a way. Some things that you would expect for how old the books are, right?
Yeah.
I think she does it better than a lot of epic fantasy. But the reason why she kind of lands a little bit in that grimdark era like area for me is one, she's really good at doing horrible things to people. Like it's crazy. She can gut you. Just you just feel, when I finished the first Law series, I always go back to that. That ending just gutted me. And I just feel like she does that to me pretty regularly. Now, is the main character morally gray? No, not at all. So I think that might be why a lot of people would say she's not grimdark. And honestly, even going by my own grimdark definition, she probably isn't grimdark. But the things that she does are just so gut wrenching and like the knife twisting in your stomach type like pain when you're reading it, that it's just like the uncomfortable things that she can pull out of you. It's hard to say like, okay, it's not grimdark in that sense because she can really fuck you up. Like,
So if somebody said she's grimdark, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
well, okay, so we defined grimdark and we said morally gray characters. I
Yeah,
don't know that she fits that. It's really good and evil for most of it.
I see.
Um, the world doesn't feel like grimdark. Like it doesn't have a bleak, oppressive tone to it, I guess. It does for the main character. The main character fits, feels like he's in a hopeless situation forever. So that's kind of like maybe part of why it feels grimdark, even though the world isn't like bleak and oppressive and hopeless. It is for the main character. And then or looking through his lens, it's like, oh my god, this world fucking sucks for you. Um and then there's like I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any swearing or any like mature language that I can think of. But honestly, I can read fuck and it'll roll over me and I won't even notice. So, and I like that, but I I don't think there is. Anyway,
Okay.
it's
Well,
just
it's
I
interesting how I hear that a lot. Mixed opinions about it.
I think that for me she's not grimdark, but the way that she makes me feel is very reminiscent of grimdark. Like most regular books don't really give you those gut punches or like horrified like mouth dropping time like moments. And she's so good at doing those things that I think that's why people say she's like grimdark. I think there are essences of grimdark in there, and I think that if you're a fan of grimdark and you're also not like an epic fantasy hater, um, and I kind of am an epic fantasy hater, honestly, but I still love Robin Hobb. Uh, so I don't know if she's satisfying me, and I'm super picky. I really like Grimdark. It's hard for me not to say that she's somewhat Grimdark, even though when I'm trying to define her books, I'm just not getting there with the Grimdark thing.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's just I don't think it's necessary to say something's grimdark or not grimdark. I think it's more important to say if you like grimdark, you might like this. It doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily mean it's grimdark. It's just you might like this also.
I think that if you liked what happened to you when you finished the First Law trilogy, like you liked the uncomfortable gut punch of the ending, you liked the surprises that you weren't expecting, I think you'll like Robin Hobb because she does that throughout the whole like trilogy.
Okay, well, there you have it. Let's move on to games because I know this was a year of games for me. This was not a year of anything else really. Just game
Yeah,
all the time. So I have a few choices. Um, but I want to specifically talk about one game that really kind of defied my expectations. Um, and then this game's called Loop Hero. Do you know anything about Loop Hero?
I've never heard of it.
Loop Hero is like an indie game that came out, and I think Devolver Digital published it. And you know, Devolver makes a lot of really good indie games, usually kind of unique concepts or uh,
My
you know,
God, it looks super old.
Yeah, it's that old like pixel style. Um, but uh basically it's like kind of like a roguelike, but you don't control your character at all. It's like one of those like smartphone games you play where it's like idle hero where it just sits there and does stuff. And
Oh, okay.
but the way this game works is like you go around this loop and you just keep going around the loop over and over and over again. But when you fight monsters and stuff, um when you kill them, you get new items or you get upgrades or that kind of stuff. So basically, when you unpause the game, you go in the loop, but you can pause it and like kind of like give your uh character more, better items or whatever. And then as you go around the loop, you're also building the loop. So you're actually building like little towns and little
Huh.
forests and all sorts of shit, and like they kind of combo together. Um, so it's a really unique concept that I thought looked kind of like I don't really want to play that, but then people kept saying, "Oh, it's really good. You should try it." So I don't even know how much I played it, uh, but it was one of those like everyday before bed games. I was playing a lot, and
Right.
it's pretty addictive. So if you like kind of a unique RPG, that's one I recommend.
Okay. I have not heard of it, but it looks interesting.
And we already talked about Persona 5. Talked about that in another episode. So I like the Persona series in general. Um, so pretty much anything that comes out Persona, I'm gonna check it out because they tend to be pretty solid games overall, and um or great games. Not always solid. Um and Persona 5 has been pretty good so far. I like the idea of it's like almost like an Inception kind of thing where you go into the heart of your enemy, and you when you defeat them, they change their mind in the real world kind of thing. And all the characters are kind of interesting too. So um, that's my other pick. And then last one is actually a game I just got like a week ago. And this game got shit on like big time, like when it first came out. And I don't know, I'm sure you've heard of No Man's Sky.
I
Uh,
have.
have you played that at all on any system?
I I played it out when it first came out, and I immediately quit because I thought it was absolute trash, and I never went back. I have heard that they've fixed a lot of things and made it super like awesome, and this is an OCD story, Phil. So if you want to criticize me for being an absolute idiot and an asshole, I understand. My brother told me you need to play No Man's Sky because it's really good now and you'll like it. And I installed the game again on my Xbox. I opened it up. I'm not like an achievement whore. Like I don't care about my score on Xbox. I don't care about getting achievements all that much. I had my profile for a while, so I have almost 100,000 points or whatever, but I don't care. I stopped caring way back in the day when my old profile got deleted and I lost probably like 60,000 achievement points or something. Anyway, got into the game and just out of habit, I kind of always just look at the achievements of a game. Uh, just because I like to kind of see what they are. And I noticed that every single achievement in No Man's Sky had a fucked up number. So instead of earning either like a multiple of 5 or 10, you earned like a multiple of 2, and that would ruin the nice evenness of my achievement score, which I don't care about, but it's always a multiple of 0 or 5. And so in like No Man's Sky, they have like achievements that are worth like 14. And it's like, fuck, that'll ruin the like last digit of my achievement score, and that will drive me crazy because my brother has had like a fucked up one for a really long time. It ends in like 7 or something. And I'm like, I can't do that because like every game it's either a multiple of 10 or 5. And like so it's impossible to fix it. And I just have this like OCD thing where if a game has like odd achievements like that, I can't do it.
Well, that's a very what I mean, whatever reason you don't want to play a game, that's your choice. But um,
It's just OCD, dude. I'd either have to play it enough where I got enough achievements where it didn't screw up my score, but I'm not willing to risk that.
well, I just think we're talking about Starfield, and I feel like No Man's Sky has maybe it's probably not going to be as like action packed or whatever as
Yeah.
Starfield, but I mean, No Man's Sky is pretty impressive, I think, to play on the Switch, which is where I'm playing it. And
Oh, I could get it on the Switch, and then I wouldn't have to worry about any of this achievement thing.
there you go. Solved your problem.
Woo! Good
But
job, Phil.
yeah,
I
but
didn't know that game was on the Switch.
yeah, it just came out. So I'd heard, bad things about it when it came out, and then recently good. So I was like, all right, well, I'll give it a try. And then I started playing it, and it's just so awesome how you can literally go from the planet and like mining stuff on the planet, get in your ship and fly into outer space and literally just go to another planet. Like that's so
Yeah.
that's so cool to me. And you can hyperspace, and there's all these little mysteries you're kind of trying to solve, and it's not like a super action based like type game. You're more of like an explorer, but when you find stuff, it feels like, oh shit, cool, I found this new technology, or I found this new, it's almost like that Gloomhaven effect of like unlocking new stuff and unlocking new gear for your ship. And then the first time I went to a space station, I was like, holy shit, there's other people in this game. Like there's other aliens and stuff walking around. I was like, I've been just hanging out on the planet mining fucking salt or whatever for 3 hours. So it's really one of those games, if you like, getting upgrades, and you know, it
It
has that
has
really,
excellent exploration. I'll say
yeah,
that.
it's really cool, like as far as the ability to play a game like that on the Switch, especially.
Yeah.
Um, so I highly recommend trying it again on the Switch.
I might. I know they've updated a ton since I played it. And even when I played it, it wasn't like not fun. It was just that there was like so much that wasn't in the game that they promised
Mm.
that it was like really pissed me off. Like there's
What was
the
something that wasn't in the game?
that they promised.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna cite things.
Now there's no multiplayer on the Switch version right now, so that's one thing.
Okay, but I
You
I
don't
don't
you don't
care about
care.
that so much. Yeah. Um, if I was gonna play with someone, that's different. But I'm gonna cite things. I might be wrong with everything because it's been a while since I did my research with this game. But I do know that there's a whole video that shows you everything that they promised in interviews and stuff, and everything that wasn't in it. And that's a really fun watch. But going based off of memory, pretty sure there was ship to ship combat promised, and that wasn't in the game. There was
I think
like
that's in the game now
yeah,
because
yeah. I think everything I'm about to cite is in the game now. because of all the backlash. There was, I think they promised factions at some point, and there
There,
was factions, but like there was nothing happening with any of these factions. And I know they have fixed that. Um,
yeah, there's factions.
yeah, there's a lot more. Can't remember if it was like NPC battling or something. That wasn't in the game that is now. Like before, I know that when I played it originally, there were NPCs, but all they did was either
Garble,
like
garble shit.
yeah, talk to you and you learned a new word maybe, or you couldn't understand them, or
I love that about the game that
no,
like,
that was cool, or they were a store and that was it. Like that was all there was for that back then. But now I think there's a lot more.
yeah,
uh
I love when you walk up to an alien and you talk to them and they're like, "You want to try out one of the words you learned?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I learned the word knowledge, and then they're like, "Man, I don't like that word." You're like, "What the fuck?"
so yeah, I I do remember enjoying the exploration part though, and finding new species and plants and stuff was really fun. Although
Yeah,
sometimes it was a real pain in the dick because you'd have the planet. I don't know how it works now, but before it was like, here's the planet, here's the number of species and plants on it. Now, I always wanted to find everything on the planet before I left. But half the time, there's like a plant or an animal, and it's either like too rare or too small or something, and like it takes you forever to find it.
yeah. I mean, you could literally spend hours, days and days and days just playing on one planet before you even get off the planet and get and fly into outer space and see, wow, there's literally four other planets in the solar system I haven't even looked at yet, or in this galaxy.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just
Expecting.
I was just amazed by the amount of stuff on the Switch, because it feels like a computer game or like a console game, and to be able to play that handheld, I was like, wow, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm expecting Starfield to be a much like better version of that, a lot more focused. We'll see. Um, who knows? Starfield could come out and be a total flop.
Well, those were my picks. Did it any?
All right, so my games. I picked two, but really there was kind of a third that I almost threw on here. Forgot the name, and then I was like, well, maybe it wasn't as good as these other two, but you had three, so I'm gonna have three. The first one is the one that I almost didn't throw on here, and I can't remember the name of it, but we've both played it on our Switch, and it was a strategy RPG, and it was by Square Square Enix, right? Do you remember what that game was?
We both played it.
Yeah.
You're talking about triangle strategy.
Yes, that's right. It's the dumbest name of a game I've ever heard. Uh, so that game was fun, but I did feel like it was a bit limiting in
I,
terms of like
I completely forgot that one. I really like that one too.
it was a really good game. I really liked how each like person you recruited had like wildly different abilities and skills. But then I think because of that, it felt a little limiting because they could only do their abilities and skills, and there wasn't really much customization to them.
Yeah, I think when you play stuff like Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre, even where you can change everyone's job and all that kind of stuff, it feels very limiting when you get a game where you can't change anything. It's just like this is what they do.
Yeah.
But
So
they all did cool stuff though. So.
oh, they did. And each class like well, each character rather just had like some cool unique ability and you're like, "Oh, that's awesome." And the story was interesting if it dragged on at times, but I think that if they came out with a Triangle Strategy 2, it would be a lot higher for me. I think they'd fix a few things. like maybe the dragging storyline, which was okay. But my God, you do like, you know, 30 minutes of talking about politics that you don't understand yet because it's like literally what you start out doing in the game. Like, I don't know what any of these places are, so it's kind of hard to get a grasp on the story for a while. And then once you did, it was okay, but it still felt like they kind of rambled on at times. Uh, so that was a good game, but you mentioned another game on my list, Tactics Ogre Reborn.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned Tactics Ogre, but Tactics Ogre Reborn just came out uh last month, and that's been a blast to play. I love that game, and
Yeah, it's one of my top like games of all time, probably.
yeah, it's really fun. Crazy story choices that you can make in that game. It's nuts that they actually allow you to branch off the way they do.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I loved about it originally was the fact like when you first get to your first major decision that actually
yes, like
alters
what?
the story, you're like, "Oh." And this was I mean, this game originally came about in the 90s or something, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It was
This was
PlayStation 1 game, I
this
think.
was revolutionary back then to be able to actually make a decision in an RPG and have it affect the story. People were like, "Holy shit."
Yeah, so I like Final Fantasy Tactics more, but Tactics Ogre and Choices is awesome because Final Fantasy Tactics did not have like choices. Uh,
I would love a Final Fantasy Tactics Reborn or something.
Phil, I'm gonna debate you on that for a second because while I wouldn't be opposed to that, and I think they did remake it once for maybe it was
Oh
the
yeah, they did for PSP.
PS. I can't. Oh, maybe it was the PSP. I can't remember. And they made then they did the other trash handheld versions, which were crap with the judges. Oh God, I hated those. Um,
I
I
like the
really just
judges.
want what? Get the fuck out of here. Those games were trash, dude. I hated
I
those.
like the concept of the judges though.
No, it was stupid. What do you mean you like the concept of the judges? They're like, oh, in this battle you can't use healing items because we're here judging this battle for your life and death. What?
Yeah, I
That was
like that.
stupid. Get out of here.
I like that
If they wanted to have battle restrictions because of something, fine. But judges, it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in the game. It's like we're over here killing each other, and you guys care if we use healing potions? Like,
I
what?
like that it added like something different to the
Yeah,
game.
I guess, but the story was just not great. The judges ruined everything. Everything about those games I hated. I want a Final Fantasy Tactics 2. Proper Tactics 2 with the awesome gritty storyline of the first one and no fucking judges, okay?
I want nothing but judges. I want Final Fantasy Tactics
Oh my
judges.
get fuck off Final Fantasy judges.
Final Fantasy judges. That's it. Now,
Okay.
I love the judges in Final Fantasy 12. Those are fucking cool.
Okay, but that's a whole different game and
They're
again, that game had serious issues too, but
they're judges though.
man, that game had some fun yeah, the judges were really cool and the world was interesting in that game, but fuck that God damn it, that game had so many other problems. Talk about a slow burn game. It took forever to get like progress any storyline in that game. I liked it, but I also fucking hate that game. All right, my last game. It's not a video game, but it's a game, and it's Frosthaven.
That's a board game.
I know it's a board game.
Yeah, I know. I just verifying for everybody that doesn't know.
Oh, okay. So Frosthaven, I got. I don't remember when I got it. A couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, actually. There was a couple weeks where I had it, but I wasn't playing it because I was waiting for my brother to come and visit so we could play it together. It's been a blast. That's no surprise. I love Gloomhaven. Until Frosthaven, Gloomhaven was my favorite board game ever. I think I haven't really gotten super far into Gloom or Frosthaven, but already I think I like it more than Frosthaven just because.
All right, you're getting the names mixed up here. You like Frosthaven more than Gloomhaven?
Yeah, did I say that backwards?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, too many havens. Uh, so yeah, Frosthaven is my new top game, I think. Uh, I really like I don't know, just the world, the theme, the idea of seasons is really cool too. So to give you an estimate of where I'm at, you do every mission after you do the first couple missions, a week goes by in the game, and I can't remember how many weeks are in a season. It's like 8 or 10 maybe, and then you switch it. So there's only 2 seasons, summer and winter. We just today finished our last week of summer. The first summer is over. I heard that the game in winter becomes an absolute just shit show. It's so much harder. So many horrible things happen. I don't know yet. I haven't started playing winter, but I'm nervous and also excited. We've had one person retire, so we haven't really gotten into the game enough to get into the fun meat of like unlocking stuff, the fun classes and stuff. And even so, the person that retired, instead of playing one of the new unlocked classes, they unlocked another starter class. So we didn't actually see like one of the crazy new classes. So I'm really excited to get into that. Um, and yeah. Oh, speaking of Frosthaven, guess what? We didn't do a news segment today, but if we had, the news segment would be, did you know?
Gloomhaven tabletop game.
Yes, they're doing the tabletop RPG. I think the Kickstarter opens up in April. Uh, Only one book, one source book, which always makes me nervous to hear because I never feel like one book is enough. I've played plenty of games with if you want to make like a really good in-depth tabletop RPG, I think you need at least 2 books. I fucking hate it when you have all the DM stuff in, for people that don't know, that's the dungeon master, the person that runs the game. I hate it when those rules are in the player's books because I just feel like it ruins everything. It shows all the monsters, it shows all the, dungeon master rules. It just, that part annoys me a little bit. And then, but I'm still excited for it, and I'm sure that you and I will end up playing it at some point.
Well, the thing I'm most excited about, related to it, is that it's going to use the same mechanics, the same card mechanics instead of dice.
I did
So
hear that, and that's really exciting. I also heard that you can play any class that's in Gloomhaven or Frosthaven.
yeah, and I think you can mix them up also. So like you could have like a Vermlane Brute or like a Inox Mine Thief or something. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Yeah,
that
I
bit
think we
that
saw the same article because the same
yeah.
article said that as well. But I don't think there's been any actual information about it that's been confirmed. So, other than I think you can play any class that's in both,
Well,
and that's awesome.
to me, the Gloomhaven world is pretty unique in the fantasy realm because it's not human centric from what I gather. I mean, there's so many different types of um
I think there's in Gloomhaven.
stuff.
I'm trying to remember, and I could be misremembering. Was there human classes in Gloomhaven?
Yeah, the scoundrel's a human.
That's right, and I think there's one more. I think one of the lost classes is human. Spoilers, I guess.
And
Spoiled the
then
class.
there's a human uh in Jaws of the Lion. I think the Void Warden is a human.
Oh, maybe,
That
yeah.
class. I never played that one, so
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. I think that Gloomhaven is exactly like reminds me of Mass Effect, where like I guess Mass Effect is a little bit more human centric, but it just feels like the whole world has like a lot of species, and they're all super interesting, and they all really kind of go together in the world where it doesn't feel like it's just like one dominant race like
What
running
were
everything.
what were the ones that the guy, his name was Rex. What was that race called?
The Krogan.
Krogan. Yeah, I love the Krogan.
Okay, the Krogan are awesome, but I was always a big fan of the Solarians or Solarians, however you
Yeah,
say it. I
those
can't
are
remember.
those are cool also. I liked Garrus, I think, from the first one.
Yeah. Man. What a great series. Can't wait for the next one. Anyway,
And
those were my games.
Andromeda too.
I don't. Here's the thing. They're not going to make. So they're making Mass Effect 5 right now. I think next year they have. Uh, the, I don't know if this is confirmed yet, but I think that they plan on releasing the next Dragon Age next year, and then assuming that game doesn't absolutely tank and make uh, the company close down BioWare, which is what a lot of people are fearing. Assuming that doesn't happen,
Why would that
the
happen?
next game is Mass Effect because who bought them? EA. Whoever bought BioWare is known for buying and then closing the studios they buy.
Yeah,
And
I see.
BioWare already had Andromeda, which most people consider a critical failure. I love the game. I'm like the only person that did. Um, yes, it had its issues, but otherwise, I fucking loved it, and I wish, they didn't have the awful animated faces or not animated faces. But I loved Andromeda. But that was the strike one. Strike two was Anthem, another game which, oh man, I love that game, but they really fucked that up. It's had so much potential. Okay, I didn't love it. That sounded wrong. I didn't love the game. I wanted to love the game. It had this amazing world, and they didn't execute it right, which is no surprise because they're a single player role playing game studio, not a multiplayer one. So that's strike two. If Dragon Age bombs, I mean that's three horrible games in a row. Not counting the Mass Effect trilogy remaster, but I don't think you count that, right? Like it's not a new game.
No,
So
I wouldn't count that.
yeah, if Dragon Age bombs, I'm really worried because I mean BioWare for a long time was my favorite game company. It would
Yeah.
still be my favorite game company if they released good games, but it's been a while. I'm optimistic though.
Well, let's move on to our most anticipated of next year, and there might be some crossover here. I don't know. Um, I don't have that many. Um,
I have quite a list.
I'm just gonna name off a few that I think probably we have a crossover. Maybe
Okay,
the next Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Engage,
I do have that.
and Eiyuden Chronicle.
I have that.
100 Heroes. Okay, so that's two of mine. I'm sure that crossover, and then the other is Dune, the next part of Dune, which I know you haven't seen the first
Yep,
movie yet.
that's not on mine. Yep.
So let's talk about Fire Emblem then. I don't really know much about this one other than it looks like it
It's
brings
Fire Emblem.
back characters from previous entries or something.
Yeah, the way that works, I believe, is that the cast is original, but you can equip items that like summon old characters. I don't think it's like a character you control
Oh,
on
I
the
see.
battlefield. I don't know exactly, so you might not want to quote me on that one, but I'm pretty sure that it doesn't they're not like the characters that join your party. I think that's like an original cast, but they're using like old weapons that like summon the essences of these old people or something like that.
Okay.
And again, I might be wrong, but that's how I interpreted the trailer and like article I read about that game a while ago.
Well, pretty much any Fire Emblem game that comes out, I'm going to be interested in it just because they're really the only type of that game that is consistent. They always come out. Um,
Yeah, Fire Emblem is an amazing series, but I gotta say the last one really disappointed me.
I like that one, but yeah, I can see why people wouldn't. Just certain elements of it
I
are.
just I usually really like the simulation stuff in that like in games like that, but I really found that to be super tedious and boring in that series in that last one.
Eiyuden Chronicle I actually know nothing about, but I know it's like a spiritual successor to Suikoden, which is one of my favorite series ever. Um,
Yeah, I'm
so
so excited for that.
I'm pretty. I kind of don't want to know anything about it, to be honest. I want to just like get it because
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
Did you know
Um,
that they released a game for there's like a Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, I think it's called.
yeah,
Um,
there's a game on the Switch that's I guess it's
yeah,
kind of like a
it's okay. I've played a decent amount of it on my Xbox. It's fun, but it's not like 100 Heroes. It's not the same thing. You get like 3 people total on your team in this game.
mm,
And it's like a platformer. You like go into a dungeon. You can jump. You can attack. I think you have like a quick and heavy attack. I can't remember. You go through the dungeon. You collect materials and some loot. You go
this
back to the town, and then you're basically doing these little missions for people. So you go out, you collect like something for them. You go out, you do something for them. You come back, you successfully complete the mission. They give you the stamp, and like you're collecting stamps. And then when you fill up a book, then you get another stamp book that has even more stamps that you have to collect.
okay.
And it's like, eh.
That's very Japanese. All I can say. Because in
It's
because in Japan, there's actually where you can get a stamp book and
oh
go to different train stations, and they have a stamp at each train station. They give you the stamp. So there's people that actually collect those
that's funny.
train station stamps.
So yeah, the game's okay. It's okay. You get to learn like some about the world and some of the characters that you're going to like recruit in 100 Heroes, I think.
I think that's the only real point of it, right? Just to
Yeah,
introduce people to it.
it's such a it's a very mediocre game. Uh
I wonder if that was part of their Kickstarter that like, hey, if we reach this stretch goal, we'll make an extra something
yeah,
something.
I don't know. It's not my type of game. You mentioned Suikoden or whatever, right?
Yeah.
My one of my anticipated games for next year is actually the remakes.
Are they remaking all of them?
They're remaking 1 and 2, and they come bundled together, I believe. So if you buy it, you get both games.
What about three?
No, I think it's just 1 and 2.
I want them to release three on Switch because
Oh yeah.
that's honestly, I think that's probably my
Let me. I'm
top
pretty sure.
three RPGs ever, probably.
Oh yeah, I loved 3 as a kid. It was really good, but I did play quite a bit of it. 1 and 2, I did not really play, so I'm like super stoked because 3, 4, and 5, I don't think I've ever beaten any of the games because they're hard
Yeah,
and
they're
they're
pretty
long.
hard.
Um,
Well, one and two, well, two people consider to be one of the best games ever.
right.
I played one, um, just like a port version of it, I guess, and just it just feels very dated. So I would I would really like to play like an upgrade or updated version
Yeah.
of it.
I played some of two. I might have played some of one, but like I think they were ports, and it was a very long time ago. And even a very long time ago, I thought they felt very dated. So I'm
Yeah,
very excited for some remakes. I'm very excited to get back into that world. I've It's been killing me since number five came out, and I thought number five was not great. And I was so excited for number six, and it never came out.
mm.
Do you have anything else on your anticipated list?
The only other thing was Dune.
What? Wow, your list is so small.
Well, I don't really have anything I'm anticipating because, to be honest, I'm so behind on everything, anything and everything. I'm still trying to get through shit from this year. So, I mean, this is the plight of the modern fan. There's just so
I
much stuff to get
Yeah.
through.
Okay, so I'm gonna start reading off. Unless you wanted, did you want to talk about Dune at all?
Well, I know you haven't seen the first one or whatever, but the first one's probably one of my favorite like modern movies I've seen. So I'm really excited for the second one. Um,
Is the second one the end of the series of the movies?
no, well, he's talked about wanting to do Doom Messiah, which is would be based off the second book. So the the original Doom movie was just one movie, but the director said, "I'm not doing Dune unless I can do two movies." So they're like,
Okay.
"Oh, okay, we'll let you do the first movie, and if it's successful, we'll greenlight the second one." So that's what happened.
Yeah, the
Uh,
reason I didn't watch the first movie was because I knew that it ended like midway through the story.
yeah, so I think it would probably be better to just wait till the second one comes out and then watch both of them.
Yeah, that's what I decided to do.
Yeah, but really, you know, it met my expectations because I love that director and I love the Dune source material. So I was pretty excited.
Yeah. All right. So, um, my most anticipated. This first one I've already mentioned on this podcast today. As far as I know, there's not actually a release date for it. It's not confirmed that it's coming out next year. It's just pretty highly speculated, and that's Dragon Age 4. Uh, it might not come out next year though. We'll see. If it does, awesome. If not, that's fine. I have plenty of other things on my list. Um, so the other two games we also mentioned earlier, Starfield,
Yeah.
that is definitely on my list, and Hogwarts Legacy. Super excited about that. Looks awesome. Comes out this February, so not too long of a wait.
So all of your anticipated or games.
No, no, no. That's I just talked about the games first.
Oh, okay. All right.
So those are the games. Uh and then moving on from that, we have TV shows. I've three TV shows on my list. The first is the third season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I'm pretty
That
excited about that too.
happens in March, I think is when that happens. The second show is The Last of Us, which comes out in January.
Mm.
Which The Last of Us, the video game, number one of my favorite games of all time. Number two, one of my least favorite games of all time.
That seems to be the consensus with a lot of people. I actually I've just kind of exited the arena as far as like consoles games go at the moment. I've
Yeah,
just been playing pretty much Switch nonstop for like the past 2 years. So like
you should
uh
watch the show though.
yeah, I really love the first game.
Yeah.
but yeah, I heard lots of kind of
Oh, you played the first game.
yeah, I played the first game.
Did you beat it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent game. I love the world. I think it's the perfect world for an HBO Walking Dead universe, basically.
I
And
love the zombies in that game too because they're not because
yeah,
because I
it's
think
like worse than zombies.
yeah, I think they proved that like that could actually be a thing, like where fungus takes over because there's
Yeah.
actually examples of that in nature already,
Right.
where a fungus infects something and it becomes like a parasite and basically controls it like a zombie.
Yeah. It's a really cool world, and I really hope that this show does like bonkers amazing, because I would love them to do original content in that world. That would be amazing. I really hope that they don't do. I think season one is game one. Really don't want them to do like season two as game two, because god damn, it was such a bad story. It's insane. And it's just so many things about it don't make sense. It's just stupid.
Isn't the
Uh,
guy from Mandalorian in that show?
yes, he is.
Oh,
He
okay.
plays the main character.
Yeah, I really like that actor. He does good
Yeah,
stuff.
Pedro Pascal. He's a great
Yeah.
actor. Um, so I have one more TV show on my list, and then my list is over. Um, as far as I know, there's not a concrete date for this. I don't think they've actually announced any date for it. I don't even know if they said it's coming out next year. However, in the world of television, generally when they film in one year, the next year is when the show airs. Right now, they started filming the show in July of the summer. I can only assume that by now it's December. I gotta assume that they're done filming and they're in, production. I don't really know for sure, but that's a long time filming if they're not. And that's the show based on the Fallout TV, Fallout video games. They're making a TV series about it, and I'm super excited for that.
Now, do you think it's going to be because the Fallout series to me is kind of silly. Do you
Um,
know what I mean?
so I wouldn't describe it as silly. I would
Not
say,
silly, but like it's like a parody of like 1950s America.
well, I I think that, all right. So I get what you mean, but I think that the Fallout world is super dark and super grim, but then they also have a lot of like amazing humor.
Do you think they're going to play that part up though, like the humor
Humor.
part, or it'll just be kind of a dark?
Um, well, in the games, the humor is like 99% things like the 50s like ads, or
Yeah.
like slogans, or things like that. And I would be shocked if they didn't include some awesome stuff like that.
Well, I mean, even
Um,
the robots that follow you around and stuff, they say silly, kind of
yeah,
goofy
yep,
shit or
that's
whatever.
true. And I hope that they have robots in it that are hilarious. I love the humor in Fallout personally. Uh, so who knows? And the rumors are that Walton Goggins, do you know who that is?
No.
He's an amazing actor who does a lot of TV shows. And the rumor is that he's playing a ghoul, and
Oh, okay.
it would be fantastic. Uh,
Yeah, the
and
ghoul. Some of the ghouls from that game were pretty funny.
yeah,
From that series. I mean.
I just love that world, and I just hope that it's like an awesome show, because. But here's the thing. Here's the concerning part. The studio that's making it, it's Amazon.
Yay.
How many flops has Amazon had?
I don't know what it is about Amazon. I think they have all the money and they have all the resources of whatever. And
Yeah,
I think they make stuff and then there's a pretty large percentage that actually does like it, but it's just like, is that
I
a
don't know. Wheel of Time not did not go so well. Lord of the Rings did not go so well. Um,
But I kind of keep seeing people say like, "What was the big deal about Lord of the Rings? Like it was fine, or like it was like some
Oh,
people say." But I don't
no,
know. I didn't
I
watch
would
it, so
disagree with them. I thought that show was absolute awful garbage, but I also think that it's great if people liked it. I want people to like it. I want Lord of the Rings to do amazingly well because the more fantasy shows that tank, the worse it is for all of us. And so I want it to do really well. I just couldn't get past the writing of the dialogue. It was so bad, and some really cringy, like stupid moments. But that was just me. In terms of original television shows, the only thing that Amazon has made that I liked was The Boys.
yeah,
Um,
I like that shit.
I've heard people have been blowing up Twitter about how amazing the new Amazon show is. It's called The Peripheral, I think it's called.
Mm.
The only thing I know about it is that it's a sci-fi TV show. It just started coming out this year, and the main actress is what's her name? Chloe Chloe Moretz Grace, I think
Oh,
her name is.
Chloe Grace Moretz. Yeah, she
Oh,
was.
did I have that backwards? I apologize. But
Yes,
yeah, she was in Kick Ass.
yeah, kick ass. Yeah.
Love those movies.
Well, all those sound great. Um, but I would be lying if I'm saying I'm anticipating any of them. I'm just kind of if it comes out, it comes out. I'm just like
Yeah,
when stuff comes out, I'll watch it maybe. But
well, and
I don't have access to all the different services. So right now I'm pretty much
right.
just Netflix and HBO. And if it doesn't come out on those things, then I'm less likely to watch them.
Do you not have access to Amazon?
I did have Amazon, but pretty much all I was watching was The Boys. So I was just like,
Okay,
I
but
just canceled it for now.
but Amazon, don't you typically pay for a year of that at a time because it's Amazon Prime?
I don't remember how I had the subscription set up, but
Okay, I was gonna
I
say I
canceled it.
thought I thought yeah you just paid for Amazon Prime and then and usually it's uh usually what was I saying? Jeez, I just flew out of my head.
It doesn't
Uh,
matter.
oh, Amazon Prime. Yeah, yeah. It's usually it's like you pay for a year, you get, awesome shipping, and then it also comes bundled with the streaming service. But I don't know if you can do things like pay for just the streaming service
I think
monthly.
that's what I did. I think I just got video Prime Video.
Okay. Well, and also it might work differently where you're at because you're in Japan. So I don't even know if do they have like the Amazon shipping Prime thing there?
Yeah, it's just a
Oh, okay.
different version of Amazon. It's Amazon Japan or something.
Right. Okay. I didn't know if they had like Amazon Prime globally or if that was just like a I think I know it's in the United States. I think it's also in the UK, but I don't really know.
Well, being that we're talking about shipping now, I'd say this is a good time to wrap up the episode.
Ship the podcast off.
Yeah. And if you listen to this episode and any of these things sounded interesting, please let us know. And also, please let us know what you're anticipating. And we're always interested to hear what people are excited about or what people were excited about. This episode should have been released at the end of the year. So hopefully that timing worked out and you're about to celebrate the new year. So for everyone to listen, happy new year, and let's hope 2023 doesn't blend together like 2020 and 2022 did for me anyway. Until next time, please check us out, Grimdark Fiction Readers and Writers on Facebook, the negative-hp.com. You can find various material there. And then, John, anything you would like to share?
Just buy the Trials of Ashman on Amazon. I don't have anything else to share. I'm a boring dude, I guess.
Boring dudes. We're gonna change the podcast name to Two Boring Dudes.
That might be a pretty good name change.
Two mildly entertaining dudes talking about shit that's not based in reality.
Right.
That's too long.
That's fair. We might be able to come up with some like weird acronym with it though.
No. Okay, that's all. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.